Hi, my name is Mantui, and I just want to give a quick review of The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. So, it's what Margaret Atwood describes as speculative fiction. And it's interesting that she says that because also a lot of the examples or a lot of what has built this story is off of things that have happened in the past, and that is scary because this book is set in a town or in a place called Gilead, and what happened was life was normal in terms of what we would consider civilization today. Men and women going to work, earning your bread, just doing usual things, going for coffee, hanging out with your friends, the usual things. And then suddenly, but not suddenly in a sense, because there was a build-up of this society or of this group of people that weren't happy with how things were going, felt like maybe it was too liberal, the women had too much freedom, and it wasn't working for them, especially as men. And so the government is overturned, and that's sort of the tipping point, and they slowly but surely put these restrictions on women until it's like full blown, and any sort of deviation from these rules and ideologies brings on like the harshest punishment. So you're killed, sometimes in the most brutal of ways. And so this particular story is following the life of one of the handmaids called Offred. And so the handmaids really were the fertile women in society, and their role was primarily to reproduce. And once they gave birth, they were sort of safe, but if they were unable to, they would join the unfertile women who were called the unwomen in what they called the colonies, and they lived in terrible conditions. And so everyone was sort of segmented, both men and women, but really it was quite literally a man's world, and everything was sort of done to serve the men, and especially the elite men who would be called the commanders and the leaders of this society. And it was a very, I think, like an anxious stage to live in, especially like for the women and the handmaids in particular, because the authority was called the Eye, and sort of had spies everywhere and surveillance, and you couldn't really be free to do whatever it is you wanted to do. And so we follow the life and perspective and nostalgia of Offred as she remembers of Fred, if you get it. So she belonged to someone, and a man in particular. In fact, in the entire book we don't know her name, and so it follows her perspective, the frustration and feeling like you are boxed in, and especially after you had tasted freedom before. So in a sense, it helps you bring into perspective the freedoms that we do enjoy now, but it also has that harsh contrast, because the unfortunate thing is that there are women who are really living this reality as it stands in the Middle East, and still even in our society there are certain things that are done and you're like, so it brings that to light, and just pushes us as humans to just advocate for better, for humanity, and so yeah, and just also shedding light on the pains that extremism can bring about, any sort of extremism, religious, or political, or views that you hold, and in the process you lose your humanity for this set of beliefs that, when you really dig deep, are founded on baseless ideologies and things like that. So it's like a call to be vigilant, to be balanced in how we approach things, and also a challenge for us to be more aware of what is going on in our society, because if one part of humanity is suffering, then we all are. It's just that maybe we're in denial, and are, throwing a blind eye to the injustices and the oppression that is happening all around us, but we sort of have to rally together. So yeah, it was a difficult read in the sense of reading about what the women would go through. The writing is excellent. Almost every sentence is just put down artistically with so much thought put to it, and you can only imagine the solitude and the amount of deep work that it took for her to come up with this masterpiece. So I would 100% recommend it, and if you have read it, share what your key takeaways were in the comments, and any recommendations you would have that can be thought-provoking or challenge the way we look at things. Yeah, thank you and enjoy. Bye.